I remember you always used to love drawing on yourself, so it makes sense that you get a tattoo.
Yep.
But,
Well, hot dog.
tough subjects.
Subject.
Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
All I want to do when I wake up in the morning is see your eyes. Diana. It's Hunter's mom.
You bastard.
Jesus.
All right, so anyways, guys, welcome to another episode of the
Casey's
Beacon House
planting
Podcast.
a seed.
In your mom?
That's what I didn't want to happen.
I feel like that's a little inappropriate.
Not only does my mom sometimes listen, but her sister listens to every episode.
Hunter, why would you open the door to that?
Yeah.
You did. I was
feel
trying
like
to
you-
like.
No, I didn't.
Hunter, I
I
feel
was
like
trying to say how
you-
much I respect your mother for raising such a gentleman like you, but apparently not.
Damn, I feel like you owe your family an apology, Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter, say you're sorry.
I've told them to stop listening a
You've
long
been-
time ago. If they're listening, it's their
They
fault.
owe you an apology.
Hey, if you guys are still here, don't call me complaining.
Hey.
We're glad you listened,
I feel
but
like-
you make these choices.
I feel like next Sunday there's gonna be a knock at the door and it's gonna be Adam. Be like, hey, I heard this past weekend's podcast.
It's like,
Oh, yeah,
you
I
guys
think he's
need to
caught
tone
up,
it.
actually.
You guys need to tone it down a little bit. Speaking of toning it down, this
cannot
is the
believe
Beacon
it.
House Podcast. Everybody, welcome back.
I'm Casey.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Spence.
What was that?
That's my
Guys,
That's my podcast voice.
dancing
I have breaking news.
What's
What
up?
is it?
A tragedy has struck us.
Oh,
a
no.
tragedy has happened.
Here we go.
You talk about the one we just heard about like an hour or two ago.
No, not that one.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna let that.
Hunter likes Dunkirk.
Oh, you took it from me, you bastard.
He
we
really-
It's
just
like the Oscars, bitch.
Can we?
yeah.
The Oscars hurt me more.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so this past Monday we watched Dunkirk, and you know what? Hunter likes it.
You changed
When-
you changed your tune.
I watched it in stone silence. Like the whole apartment was just quiet, except
Yeah.
for like sniffles and sobs.
That's
and,
what the movie will do to you.
and when it was done, I think I looked at Casey and I was like, I don't know why I didn't like it the first time.
Really?
That was amazing.
Shit. Wow. Okay. That's
I
huge.
can't. I know what I've said about it, and I know
Yeah.
that I felt those things about it. But having seen it again, I don't see any of those complaints in there. I don't understand what I was watching that made me
You just maybe-
compute it that way.
We're in a bad mood or something the first time.
That's
you
what
saw it?
everyone says, but I was excited to see it. I was in a good mood. I was going to see this new Christopher Nolan movie with Mom. There's nothing going on, so I was primed to love it.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to see
I
things
don't
a couple times to I don't know.
All I know is that people in the apartment after we saw it looked at you and they're like, how? How can you not think that that was a good movie? And I was like, yeah.
I couldn't even fight back. I wanted to fight back, like to be funny, and I couldn't do it.
Wow.
I felt so defeated by my own arrogant
Well,
bullshit.
I saw the movie this week too. Casey loaned it to me so
and
that
you
we could
thought
have
it was
a,
mediocre but good.
What? I didn't say that. I did not say
I
that.
feel like you're about to say
I
that.
think he is.
Let me ask you a question. Before I describe what I think, and again, I want to say what I think doesn't necessarily matter, but
He hits us when we disagree.
what?
Off-
No.
off camera.
What did you, Casey? I'm pointing at Casey. What did you like
pointing
so
at
much
Casey.
about it? Before I talk about what I liked about it, like what was the?
First of all, I love something that was pointed out to me the second time watching it with
Right.
our good friend Josh. He pointed out something with the sound design. And I didn't notice it until the second time watching it. And I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
and
that
it's
was in the back of my
music
head.
starts at a pitter patter, like at a low level, and builds and builds and builds and builds and builds and then drops off. And then builds and builds and builds. And the entire time you're left
Right.
with this suspense, like suspense.
See, I thought that was real obvious. Like there was the music is weird too.
Well,
It's not even like music. It's just like this.
It sounds it's a
siren,
soundscape.
like a tone. At first, I thought it was like maybe going to be like an air raid siren, and I
Yeah.
realized no, that's just like a synthesizer going. It was kind of like almost psychedelic in a way, you know.
Yeah. But
Zimmer.
the one thing I loved about this movie is it's a harrowing film of the Dunkirk tragedy, or what would have been a tragedy. And they ended up saving a ton of people. But it's the three timelines that move along in the entire time, and then at one point, like at a couple points, they intersect and kind of go within each other. And it's kind of like a Tarantino way of doing
Yeah.
it, because like you see the
Weaving
ending
in and
first,
out.
but this one is just like weaves in and out, and you see how things affected certain things, and like Cillian Murphy's character being found on the ship early on, but then later on you see him like
Before it
rescuing
happened.
the guys before
Yeah.
it happened, being like real unforgiving
Yeah,
about
yeah.
letting them on the boat. So yeah, it's Christopher Nolan loves the concept of time, and I enjoy watching him play with it.
Yeah.
Play with that concept.
I think all those subtleties were definitely lost on me the first time, except the time frames in which the story's told, because they tell you at the beginning of the movie. But
yeah.
the thing that really impressed me the second time around, and I can't say it enough, I don't know why my brain processed the movie it did the first time the way that it did. But
Because there's no Godzilla.
maybe I was looking for big giant feet. But was just that every story in each the three. Okay, so every story that's told in the three time frames that you get shows sacrifice, heroism. It also shows the horrible things people will do to survive. It also shows mankind's capacity to forgive those things in light of hope being on the horizon and going. They were just trying to live. Guy in the boat. The planes have elements of that too. Every story has everything that I love about storytelling in it, and for whatever reason, me saying that it had no heart, every story ends with he flies with no gas just to give the guys one last hurrah, takes out that plane, and he's kaput because he's captured, but worth it to him. Those guys that are ashamed of coming back because they didn't win, and everyone is just glad that they made it back, and that's all they care about. All of that shit I saw the first time, and it just didn't hit me for whatever reason.
Well, I will say it didn't hit me either.
Really? So explain.
Maybe I need to watch it again too, because I largely felt, and I'm sorry to say it, I felt the way he felt up until now when I watched it. I was not, in fact, honestly, this is going to sound crazy to you guys, but I thought it was so fucking boring.
I could see you thinking
I fell
that.
asleep during it, and I had to wake up and go back to where and start it over. I just didn't. It didn't. There was so little dialogue in the movie.
There's probably 20 lines.
Nothing happens. And look, when you were talking about when you guys were watching it, there was no talking in the apartment. I wanted to go. That's because there's no talking in the movie. There's nothing but the sound of airplane engines and splashing, for 3.5 hours, and it's just a bunch of guys on a beach trying to get on a boat 3 times. I was so underwhelmed by it, and I'm sorry to say that. I would also like to say, I acknowledge that it's a massive historical documentation. It's a tremendous feat by men smarter than me, like Christopher Nolan, and Quentin Tarantino's a huge fan of Dunkirk, and who's going to argue with him? I get it. And it just didn't do it for me.
Would you rather watch Dunkirk again or Midsummer?
I would definitely watch. No.
got him.
I would watch Midsummer 50 times before I would watch Dunkirk again. I'm sorry to say, I probably will never watch Dunkirk again.
You should wait a year or two.
Unless I don't have a kite to fly or paint to watch dry or something Again, I'm being funny for the podcast, but no, it was astonishing. And even here on the CD case or the DVD case that Casey brought me,
it's the best shot in the movie.
That's the best shot in the whole movie when the bombs are blowing up. And I get it. Another thing you got to say about the movie is there was no or very little CGI. So much of it was actual tangible effects. And I actually think that kind of hurt it a little bit. I know
think
that
that's why
sounds
the
stupid.
Plane sequences were the way they were.
Well,
pretty sure they were
all
in
the
planes.
explosions were just it looked like something you would see at Dollywood. There's just water sprayed up and then that was it, because they really, I don't know. It didn't do a whole lot for me. I'm not really familiar with the big history. I know a bunch of guys got stranded on this beach and they couldn't get them off, and that was the story of them trying to get them off, and the civilians brought their boats and got them, and that's a massively heroic story. But to me, that's like a 20-minute story. And this movie was just so long and so vapid, and it just
Did you not even like Tom Hardy's parts?
I thought they were okay, but the whole movie felt empty.
I don't know. There's something about that ending when
That's how I
he's
felt,
flying over the thing, and people are just standing there looking at him, and he's out of fuel.
Yeah, and I was entertained
And then
by
you
it.
see another plane come in to bomb him, and everyone starts to panic, and then Tom Hardy flies back through and blows that guy up.
Exactly.
And flies off, and everyone cheers. There's something about that you're just like, fuck yeah.
I mean, I was entertained by it, but I was also still massively bored by it. To me, I don't know. I would say this. I understand what Dunkirk, I think, was trying to do, was trying to capture the almost hopeless, banal quality that war presents, where even people that are injured and they're trying to go back, they're still getting bombed, like why would you bomb a rescue ship? Things like that. But I would like to suggest 3 movies that I think capture that feeling way better than Dunkirk. If anybody's listening and you maybe felt the same or you want to give it a shot or whatever, I think 3 movies that do what it was trying to do, but way, way better are, number 1, Saving Private Ryan.
Sure.
I think it was like Dunkirk, but with way more humanity and actually
way more gore.
Well, but acting. It had actual. I feel like there was no acting in Dunkirk, except maybe the guy on the boat, maybe.
Sure.
But like Black Hawk Down. Did you guys ever see that?
It's such a good movie.
That's a great movie.
It's such a good movie.
Stunning.
You should watch the commentary. if you're
The
bored.
Black Hawk Down, when I saw it in theaters, and it made the hair on my arm stand up, and I could not believe what it's like to be in war. It was the most shocking war movie I had ever seen up to that time. I mean, I was
I was
just
about
like,
to say, have you seen The Hurt Locker? Because that one that'll rock your
I
world.
still haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it either. And maybe that's another good example. And then the last one I'd like to say is Fury.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
Fury,
Still haven't seen Fury.
I think you'd really dig Fury.
dude, it's maybe the strongest one out of the bunch. But they're all kind of except Black Hawk Down was centered in like
Is Fury World War II?
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And
Fury is
it's
the
incredible.
least historically accurate, but I think you could argue that it's the strongest out of the bunch for hopelessness and finding hope in that. Anyways,
Tremendous. It's
know,
tremendous.
the whole movie's about that.
I don't know.
It's powerhouse. Like it's right there. But to me, like it and Save It Private Ryan are just right next to each other.
There's something about World War II movies, TV shows, Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, Dunkirk, what have you. And when it's World War II and I'm watching it, I don't know what it is. I get fucking emotional. And I don't know if it's because I like try to put myself in their shoes and I could never fathom or do anything that heroic or courageous.
I honestly think it's because it's the last war that we've had in multiple lifetimes that really did. There are obviously gray zones in the people carrying out the things, but really did have a black and white, like one side is evil and doing evil in the world and it's being stopped.
That's like the last 5 to 6 episodes of Band of Brothers. Every single one of those episodes had something in it that fucking punched you in the gut. Like when they're, what is it? Is it Battle of the Bull?
Bulge?
Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah.
That's a famous battle.
It's the one where they're stuck in the snow in the forest. And there was a part at Christmas where both sides
They stop and they sing.
Silent Night.
I thought that was
That's
World War
War
One.
One.
That's World War One.
But yeah,
Famous. Yeah, they stopped fighting and they sang.
That's
But
the trench warfare.
in Band of Brothers,
They
there's
probably did that.
They might have done that to be dramatic or like have a cinematic.
well, it's
but
a good take it from that war. Put it
The
in
Americans have the forest and they have like dug trenches and holes and foxholes and whatnot. And I'm sure Zeke is screaming right now because we're getting the battle wrong. But and then the Germans have the town over there, and then neither side is firing for the Christmas Day, and they both start singing like Silent Night,
Yeah.
or something like that. It's just I don't know. I don't know what it is about World War II movies. Anytime one drops or a TV show, I'm like I gotta watch it.
I think that story, it's clever that they put that in there, but that is a World War I story. But the thing that I like about that the most is, honestly, that it shows the gray zone. And if it were in World War II, even when there's a objectively evil side to everything, the gray zone of like, these are also just dudes that joined the military, either drafted or if they did it by choice because they wanted to protect their nation or whatever, that are now on the wrong side of something for the right reasons, and that they have no desire to kill these other people across the battlefield, but they have to.
Well, I remember my dad was in World War II. My dad was in the Philippines, and I remember as a kid, like asking him, like, "What's it like to be in the war?" And he said, "Well, I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of choice.
Yeah.
You know, like we got drafted." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, but just," I said, "Is it weird to like shoot at people?" And he was on a tank, you know. He goes, "Well, you got to think they're shooting at you." And he goes, "Nobody's really," he goes, you know, he just kind of was like very simple about it like that. But he was very fascinated with war his entire life while he was alive. Like he always watched war documentaries and everything like that, even though he had been through, you know, I mean, it was still, I don't know, man, like it's one of the most staggering things that we've done as a race, I think. Like the world wars are a big, big deal. And we're getting so far from them now. We have these weird, like, I don't know, whatever the wars that we're involved in now, like war on terrorism is they're not the same as when, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we might see another world war, but not like the ones in the past, you know? And to be fair, I haven't seen 1917. I hear it's the most moving documentary of war ever. I haven't seen Midway, which I heard was actually really, really good.
I wanted to see Midway.
So there's other ones out there that but
1917, I think, is more emotionally impactful than Dunkirk.
Yeah.
Even still, but only by a little bit. It does not hold a candle to any of the three that you mentioned earlier.
And there's other good ones from way back too. There's like Full Metal Jacket and
there's From Here to Eternity, which I mentioned
that's really
not
good.
Too long ago, but I don't think it was while we were recording. But
yeah, that's a phenomenal one. Yeah,
the just military life and the shit that those guys go through just being on a base, and then it ends and it's Pearl Harbor happening, and you don't realize that that's what it's leading to until it happens, and then the way that it happens is devastating, and then the end, black and white, 1954 movie.
Yeah.
War sucks.
Well, and that kind of segues into something I kind of wanted to talk about this week, and I mentioned it to Casey just briefly, I think, but it's just on the topic of
You said you had a hard topic you wanted.
It's not that hard. It's just called. I was going to say something about tough subjects, and here's what made me think about it. I was listening to a podcast this week, Dean Del Rey podcast. He's interviewing Kirk Hammett, the guitarist from Metallica. And they're talking about like the early days in like El Sobrante, California, San Francisco, like 1982, and all this stuff growing up in the Bay Area, and the origins of like modern thrash metal and the kind of metal we know now kind of started there, and it had no blueprint. Like there was nothing really that ever sounded like it. But they were talking about a lot of stuff, and then they get to the part back in the 90s. You guys may remember, this may be a little foggy, when Metallica famously tried to sue Napster for pirating music and downloading music for free and stealing, basically all that kind of stuff. And they really took a lot of shit for it. Like they were one of the only artists to actually try to sue these people that were making music free and changing the music industry. And they were like, this is going to ruin the recording industry if you allow this to happen, and everybody thought, oh, you're just rich and greedy, and your band was, they took a lot of shit for it. Your band circulated on cassette tapes and stuff. Like you gained popularity by word of mouth, and now you don't want other people to do it because you have a big fancy house. And like they really, really, really kind of like they kind of lost that battle, and it was this ugly thing. But he talks about it now. But now, like 20 something years later,
they were right though.
They were right. And the whole
right.
recording industry is like falling apart. Like nobody's making money on music anymore. Concert tickets are $100 because nobody buys music, and it's this whole everything has changed. And the only way you can make money playing music now is to play it live. Mm-hmm. Like there's no money in recorded music anymore, almost none. And it's just this weird thing. And now everybody's kind of like agreeing with them, but it's the world we live in.
It's too late.
Yeah. And Kirk Hammett said in the interview, he goes, it's just a really tough subject because yeah, we were right, but that's not doing us any good to have been right. Like the world was changing and it was too big. It was too big for us to stop. We saw a problem. We tried to fight it, but the whole world was changing. Now everybody expects art for free. They expect movies for free. They expect music for free. You know what I mean? And he goes, it became very convenient to just take things for free without paying for them, and it became less convenient to pay for them. Mm-hmm. And he goes, and I mean, at the end of the day, what are you going to do? But it's tough to talk about. Because, yeah, it's bad on one hand, but on the other hand, a lot of people were exposed to a lot of things they otherwise never would be exposed to. So, but when he said it, he didn't go, fuck Napster. He didn't go, fuck the internet. He didn't go, we were right. He just goes, well, it's a really tough subject. And I was like, whoa. To be a guy that was on one side of the fight so much, to now have this like, and I started thinking about it. I was like, there's a lot of stuff that's like that. Like the argument over like, well, I was going to name a couple things and see what you guys think. And I'm taking politics and religion out of this.
Thank you.
Because those aren't necessarily tough subjects. Most of the time people are very on one side or another in politics and religion. But that informs how we feel about all these other things. Your political and your religious stance kind of maybe creates a bias that you see everything else through. So we're not going to go into that, but things like the whole gender argument is a tough subject. And it's tough because there's no obvious right and wrong answer. In every situation, you have people that feel a certain way, but then you have other people that don't. And so you're trying to like marry the humanity. Do you know what I'm saying? The gun argument. Like, what do we do about guns? Well, guns protect us, but guns also kill us. And are they too easy to get? Are they not easy enough to get? The only criminals have them. Like, there's a lot of stuff that is just really tough that there's no obvious answer to. And you get into these things, and you see what I'm saying? Like, I was just very struck by that this week. Do you guys have any other things you think are like that?
Okay.
Well, it's like our discussion over Dunkirk. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's obviously a wonderful movie. It just didn't do that for me, But I can't shit on it. And you guys are both very intelligent.
I promise you can.
And
It's fun.
But you like
He
it.
just called us intelligent.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
Can we record that?
well, I made a point to start out the discussion by saying, what did you like about it?
Yeah.
Before I said, well, I don't like it, I wanted you to be able to have a platform to go, well, here's all the things that are right about it. And I can't discredit any of that. He's right.
Well, it's like,
Yeah.
It just didn't excite me. I wasn't entertained by it.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it. And I'm sure it's an artistic, but again, tough subject. There's not a like, oh, here's the answer and we all agree. We're never going to all agree.
I don't know if what I'm about to say falls under what you're talking about. I feel like it does, because it's a tough subject that I've been dealing with recently, of trying to share in an art form of like filming and movie making and things like that. I don't know if I've brought it up on this podcast before. I think I did.
I don't think you did on the podcast.
You're talking about when you encounter these people who act like they know everything. And
Well, it's not. It's. I think I have. I think it's an episode that we haven't put out yet. But
Okay.
basically, it's just I want to be able to share in my enjoyment of an art form, and whenever I go and talk to somebody about it, it always seems like to turn into a competition.
Yeah. Instead of a give and
And
take.
I never tried. Like, I never push for that. I'm always just like, oh, I love this movie. I love that movie. And someone's like, why do you love that movie? That's dumb. And it's like, can we not just enjoy the fact that we both enjoy movies and share in that kind of that art form? But once again, it's a tough subject. Some people are just, I think, raised differently, or they mature differently, and they think that everything has to be a competition when it comes to making money.
I think people grow differently. I think, not that you're wrong, and it's really splitting hairs, but I think to say someone matures into a point where they get so entrenched in their idea of a thing that they'll tell you that you're stupid for liking it
probably
means
not
that
mature.
they didn't mature.
Yeah.
that's true. And that's what I'm saying. We it's weird to have opinions that, may not necessarily be shared by other people, because that means you might be wrong. And I guess in somewhere that can be kind of scary. I know it has been for me. Like, I wanted to know finite truths growing up so that I didn't have to think that much. Like, if you know the way something works for sure, like, don't touch the hot stove eye. We know that to be true. If you touch it, you're going to get fucking burnt. Nobody can go, well.
But how did you learn that?
By touching
By touching the hot
A lot of
stove.
times you learn by touching it, right? But there's just a lot of things like that. I did look up, bias has a lot to do with it. If you get a bias, and bias, basically, if you look up bias in Wikipedia, it's going to tell you it means that you have not necessarily an unfair, but you have some sort of a not neutral opinion about a subject. Either you're a little more for it or a little more against it, based on all kinds of things. And there's different kinds. There's prosecution bias, there's confirmation bias, there's different types of bias, But it just means that you tend to kind of lean one way or the other. And so we all carry their biases into discussions, which is okay, because that's how we learn. If we're not a bunch of fucking assholes, and go, well, I didn't really see it that way, but explain to me what you like. That's why I wanted to ask you first about Dunkirk.
Yeah.
What did you like about it? Because I can only see through my glasses,
Yeah.
But I've read about it too. It's weird because extreme bias, it kind of starts to turn into prejudice. And prejudice turns into discrimination. And that leads to all kinds of terrible stuff, like violence and fighting. And, so like, I think we have to be very careful with our biases. Biases?
I think it's-
biases?
Biasi?
Biasi?
By Psy.
Bisi.
I have one for you.
By science.
I have a tough subject for you.
Right.
That can you put on your list? Police officers
Oh, yeah.
and their effect on the community.
violence and stuff.
No, police officers and their effect on the community,
And their
just
effect
in general.
Yeah, in general, like police violence, corruption, like
yeah.
their
What that does to the good ones.
well, yeah. I mean, there are good police officers. However, anytime I see a cop car, I'm terrified, and everyone always tells me. They're like, oh, you're a white dude. You're fine. It's like, that doesn't help me. I'm still terrified.
Yeah, dude.
I'm scared of cops, and I know I shouldn't be.
Well, they
Like,
can take your freedom away. They can detain you.
They can
That's
just, at any drop of a hat, they can just go, like, look, I watch, every now and then I get into a guilty pleasure of watching live PD on A&E. And I watch the clips on YouTube sometimes. Just because it's insane how a cop will pull someone over, go up to their car and go, I smell weed, and then dump everyone out of the car. They don't find anything half the time, but all they have to do is say, I smell weed, and they pull everybody out of the car. No.
I mean, I've
Yeah,
had
like-
that happen to me. Me and my friend who's been on this podcast for the Ouija board episode, Joe Hurley. A guy pulled us over one time. He even had a headlight out, and I may have already told this story, but the guy made us get out of the car real late at night, and he wouldn't let us stand near each other. He made one of us stand over on that corner of the car, and he questioned us separately, and we weren't even doing anything wrong, and he couldn't tell us why he pulled us over, and he kept saying, which one of you's got the drugs, which one of
They
you's got
have
the
to,
drugs. And I said, we don't have any drugs, dude. Like, we're literally just going to Wendy's. You know, I don't know we haven't been drinking. Like, we're just out riding around. And he was just like, no, I know you guys have got drugs. I can smell them in the car. Like, well, you're smelling something besides drugs, dude. And we could go, hey, man, why don't you tell us why you pulled us over? And the guy's like, I don't have to tell you anything. And I was like, hey, you do? And he goes, no, I don't. And then we realized, okay, we better shut the fuck up. You know, like it's not right or wrong. Like this guy's going to fucking pull a gun on us or something. And so we just kind of shut the fuck up. And finally I said, hey man, I'm going to need your badge number. And he goes, okay, I'll go write it down for you. Got in his car and drove off. And I was like, that motherfucker. Yeah. And we drove to a gas station, found some other cops who, a couple of them we knew. And we said, hey man, we just got pulled over. This guy was like harassing us and stuff. And they go, well, there's not supposed to be another cop in this end of town, just us.
Oh shit.
And I go, well, somebody's out there. And they got on the radio and they're like, nobody knows who that guy was. So some rogue cop that was just out, like, he might have been looking for drugs. So I don't know what happened, but
that could have been.
And I understand, as three white men, this subject is not as tough as it is for other people. And
whatever,
that's
dude.
a fucking tragedy.
I was a poor, rebellious fucking teenager, and I got picked on by cops just as much as
I was going to say. I mean, I understand that.
I had long hair. I hung out late at night. I went to rock concerts. So I got pulled over like every fucking week. You know, like I had to.
I still think other people have it worse.
Well, maybe when they get pulled over, but I got pulled over a lot, and I was always like straight, and they would ask, like,
or just being randomly approached in the middle of the street, and just because you look a certain way,
I would always try to be like,
just like automatically assume that you're up to no good and pull a gun on you.
We got pulled over. Me and my friend Shauna got pulled over in New Jersey when we were up there seeing Butch Walker, and because we were in a rental car, it had Ohio plates.
That's why
we were driving at night, and the guy pulled us over, and he goes, I said, why'd you pull us over? He goes, well, I noticed you had Ohio plates. I go, so? He goes, well, where are you from? I go, we're from Knoxville. This is a rental car. He goes, what are you doing up here? I said, we're here to see Butch Walker.
They can't do that.
He goes, who's Butch Walker? Oh, they can do whatever they want, thanks to the Patriot Act. Don't forget that. There's none of this, like, cops can't, like, we've signed on this list anyway. But, and he goes, well, who's Butch Walker? And I go, okay, well, so, like, I can answer this question two ways. I can say it's a musical artist that you have no interest in, blah, blah, blah. Or if you're really interested, I'll pull Spotify out and we'll spend an hour talking about it. You know, I'd love for you to see. And the guy kind of got a laugh out of that. But anyway, I don't know, man. Like, there are good cops and bad cops, and that is a tough subject. You're correct. You're correct.
I mean,
because the bad apples spoil the fucking bunch.
Well, you need them. You need to be able to call them. If somebody's breaking into your fucking house, you need to be able to call the police.
Oh, that's like when I was at work. Doing graveyard shift. The lady who, I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast already, but a lady who was coming in to do early morning cleanings walked into the lobby and walked past the front desk because she goes into the bar to clean. And a guy was just walking behind her. And I was like, hey, bud. And he stopped and looked at me. I said, can I help you? And he was like, I'm here to see somebody. And I was like, all right, give me a name. And he was like, this person. And I was like, don't have anybody by that name. He's like, well, they should be on like the 5th floor. And I was like, we don't have 5 floors. I was like, how about you going to get out of here? And he was like, and he like looked into the bar and he goes, okay, and left. And about 2 minutes later, she comes out and she goes, did that guy leave? And I was like, yeah, I kicked him out. That's too early for people to be hanging out in the lobby looking for people. And she goes, he followed me all the way from the parking garage.
Whoa.
And I was like, all right. So I immediately called the cop non-emergency number and was like, hey, I have someone following, this lady around. Can you send a cop? And the cop showed up and I described the guy. It was just like, he looked like a methed out fucking crazy person. And the cop was like, all right, we're on it. That cop was a nice cop.
Yeah. I met a cop like a week ago. The restaurant I work at, like somebody gave us a fake $50 bill. And like it was pretty funny too. Like it was folded in half, and one half of it looked just like a real $50 bill. The other half had like Chinese writing on it. And like I was like, who fucking took this? And somebody had taken it with it folded up, and they didn't understand. I was like, did you not even look at the other side of it? And it got kind of funny. So I called the police, same thing, and they sent a guy out, and the cop goes, do you have the counterfeit money? I go, yeah, dude, just look at the other side of it. And he started laughing, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go check it out. But he was a real nice guy. So it's like a lot of, I don't know, man, there's good and bad everywhere like that, but you need them. And I think, again, it's a tough subject. It's tough to say, well, cops suck or cops are wonderful, like, because you've had both experiences. When you need them, like when you need them.
But it's so divisive. Like there's some people like Blue Lives Matter and some people are like, fuck you.
Yeah. There's some people that want blood.
Well, and that's that confirmation bias. That it depends on what's happened. If you've just been pulled over in the last week and a cop's a real dick to you, you're going to feel like, fuck cops. But if a cop came out and fucking helped you out and like protected you, like you're gonna be cops are fucking great, dude.
Well,
like,
okay,
I'm gonna donate to the policeman's ball this year, you know.
Yeah.
But it's all kind of dependent, and sometimes a lot of the other stuff too, gender, race, like a lot of that stuff also has that bias in it. Like it's kind of depends on what's happened to you. Almost like remember Dave Chappelle was talking about abortion, and he goes, "It depends on who I get pregnant," you know. But
So since you looked into biases, then I'll very short version of this, but because I had a suspicion that was confirmed, so I don't know if that makes this confirmation bias since it happened or what. But
you found out
like
you're
a year
gay.
a year and a half ago,
Suspected. We all
leaving
suspected it.
Crystal at like 1 a.m. or something.
I knew firsthand.
You got gay at Crystal?
No, I left Crystal at like 1 a.m. and there was, I turned at a green light, the whole 9 yards. Like there was no guesswork. Like I didn't stop long enough at the red light, and I was maybe 3 blocks away from my mom's house where I was living at the time. And the only other car on the road was a cop who was at the red light, facing the green light that I turned at. And as soon as his light turned green, he sped up enough to catch up to my car and then drifted over behind me and followed. And when I put my signal on and got to the subdivision, waited for the green arrow just to be safe, he turned into the subdivision and followed me. And I got out ahead of him just enough after the stop sign halfway through that I was able to park in the driveway.
Yeah. So you made it home. You made it home.
Right, but I parked in the driveway and turned the car off so that he wouldn't see that I had gone there.
Oh, cool. So you're running away from the police.
Well, right, but
Fucking exciting.
He drives
You ducked down in your
past-
seat too. You're like, ugh.
I did. I was scared. Going to what you said, but he drives past the house at like 5 miles an hour, like painfully slow, and then I see him go up towards these bushes he can't see behind, and I see his brake lights on, and he just sits there for like 5 minutes, like my food got cold. And then he
Not
just
your crystals.
drove off.
That's actually the part.
Is that the part? Like
That's the part that made me the most upset because I love
Sure.
Crystal.
But as soon as I saw him at the light when I turned, I was like, "Fuck
This guy's
me!
gonna
This
follow
guy's
you.
going to follow me, and he's going to pull me over."
He's going to find something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, the tag light story I've told before. It's going to be something like that I didn't even know existed or was wrong.
Surprisingly enough, cops can just pull up behind a person, type in their license plate, and pull up their like information on their car. And if they find just anything they can pull you over for, they'll do it.
Dude, I've
because
got
the city.
but
I
what
believe
is
the
that,
city
though?
makes commission off tickets.
Well,
But what is that though? Just to go back to the bias real quick.
and you hear about this, and you know what? To be fair, we probably should actually have a police officer on the show. I would love if anybody's listening that
If you're a cop and you want to come on, please.
dude, seriously, if you're law enforcement and you want to come
Don't
on,
you know one?
He's retired. Otherwise,
I would love to have
First person
anybody
I
in
thought
law
of.
enforcement come on and talk to us about some of the, because you guys also go into very dangerous places. You deal with things.
They deal
that
with a
nobody-
lot of shit.
Seriously, like they
get
respond.
shot at?
They get shot at. They respond to robberies and crimes. There's a call. Hey, if somebody's in a convenience store with a gun, they have to go.
You have to see people,
Yeah.
murdered people all the time. Like,
So we're not just being like, oh, you're dicks when you pull us over. Like you guys deal with a lot of shit, and I would love to hear a police officer's opinion. And I don't actually know how some of this stuff works, but they do have quotas.
Yeah.
And you'll a lot of times
But
near
I've been told that's not true, but I hear more than anything else.
at the
that it
end of the
is, so-
month, at the end of the month, you'll see a lot of people getting pulled over. I remember
Yeah.
coming home. We're getting near the end of January. I was on my way home from work the other night, and I saw like so many people, like literally like 5.
and I think it's just the city police. I don't think it's sheriffs.
I don't know. I see. I don't know. I don't know if it is or not. But yeah, I think they can. I've had cops get behind me and then stay behind me real close, and I'm not doing anything, and then they just go off.
But I always get
They
angry
leave
when that
Because they search your
happens.
license plate.
Because I have a clean record, and so they'll search my driver's license or my record or whatever, and realize, well, this guy's not anything. You know, I guess they feel like I'm not a
But
catch.
I hate that because they're hunting. They're not stationed and waiting to like respond to something to help people. They're hunting. That's my perception of it. So if we had a cop on here, he could speak to that maybe, which would be nice.
Well, nothing's
but
perfect.
I feel hunted, and it pisses me off.
Oh no, that's true. See, and that's the
You're
thing.
Arnold. He's the predator.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. That's
This
the
time
thing.
they picked the wrong man.
I agree too. Like if I see a cop in traffic, I'm kind of like I look at my speedometer and I'm like, well, I don't want to do anything wrong. Like I don't want to get in trouble because that guy can make you stop whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Like he can take you to jail. Like so, there is a reason to be careful about that. You know, like I don't know, man.
But it seems like there's no common sense anymore. Like as stupid as the example is, but like no leave it to beaver element of like they're there to help you, and if you do something wrong or stupid, but it's not dangerous and it's clearly not on purpose, they'll just drive by and be like, let them go.
Sometimes they do that. I feel like
it's rare though.
Well, sometimes they'll pull you over if you're driving too carefully because you're suspicious.
Yeah.
You're following the law too well. You're being a little suspicious.
Well, there's a lot of rules. So they say if a cop gets behind you, like don't pull over in the dark, like pull over only in a well-lit area, or keep driving until you get to a populated
you
place.
Can call 911 and even tell them, hey, I'm being pulled over, but I just want you to tell the cop that's behind me I'm in this car, that I'm driving forward, not because I'm leaving the scene or I'm trying to run away from, but I'm trying to find a better lit area.
And man, the ultimate,
I didn't know that. That's good.
The ultimate advice when dealing with an encounter with the cops, I think is probably the same as dealing with like a robbery. It's like, don't resist. That's where you're
going to get you in a lot of shit.
Seriously, you see these videos of these people that like they've studied up on like the Constitution and whatever, and like they get pulled over and they argue with the cop and they're like, I'm getting you on video, and they keep going, am I being detained? Am I being detained? And like, I'm like, dude, sooner or later, that's not going to work out for you. Mm-hmm. Like at some point, this guy's leveraging authority over you. And whether it's right or not, whether it's legal or not, like you're really, really, really pressing your luck by arguing with a cop like that. Just, you should say, sorry, man, I didn't mean to do anything wrong, whatever,
Well, this brings me...
And maybe it starts out by don't be a fucking criminal. Like, don't, you know what I mean? Don't have illegal shit.
I could talk to my brother since he's a first responder and see if he knows any cops that would be interested.
Dude, I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great. And I don't think you'd have to look too far to find a cool cop that would come on the show and talk about it,
One of the things I want to bring up is about police officers and stuff is I actually had a friend who listened to our episode where Hunter was
scoped for
doing his diabetes medicine in the
heroin.
car in his arm. Yeah, they thought it was heroin.
Thought it was heroin.
And they pointed out that they thought it was interesting, like hearing your side of like the police officer showing up, you being like, oh, I'm diabetic, and then being like, oh, okay. And how if you're anybody else, like any other race, it would have gone completely differently. If someone was like, he was shooting up and they show up to your work, like they would have taken you outside, sit you in the car, then ask you questions. They wouldn't have done it at the bar.
I think that's a fair observation to make. Because they just walked in and saw me and
it was
left.
very frustrating to listen to you tell the story, knowing that it would have been a completely different subject, saying this person has heroin, it's a scrawny white kid, or it's, a Mexican guy or a black guy or girl.
Fair?
Maybe. We can't say.
So as an observation, it's fair, not as a fact.
We can't say with 100% certainty that
would happen.
That if Hunter was a Mexican guy, they would have drug him out to the car, or a black guy, they would have like handcuffed him. Right? Maybe. And if you want to play percentages, there's probably a higher percentage that
would happen.
Maybe. And that's sad. And that, again, that's prejudice.
Yeah.
Or that's bias, like we were talking about earlier. But we can't guarantee that. Like they might have actually.
But I understand their frustration when they were listening to the story. And that I just thought about that when we were talking about police officers.
Sure.
That up.
Well, and again, I'm not saying that we have it just as hard. Like I said a couple episodes ago, we were talking about just people have been through things we can't understand because we're white dudes that grew up, even though that doesn't mean we've had an easy life. That doesn't mean everything's been just handed to us. I grew up poor. I mean, I didn't have anything, but like, there are certain things that we just can't say, oh yeah, I've been through that.
But see, that's different though, because you're allowing that happens. I think the thing, because I encountered it years ago, and luckily not as much these days, but that really pissed me off about that mindset was not that I found the fact that other people suffer differently or even more to be untrue. Like I know that, so that's fine. But the fact that me being white meant that my suffering didn't count as suffering because I was white. That's the part that I have a problem with.
That's the same thing too. And I know a lot of people who are technically minorities who were raised, they grew up with a lot more money than I, a lot more opportunities than I had.
Sure.
And so you can't just go, oh, white people have it easy. That's one of the stupidest things I think you can do.
Rich people have it easy.
Well, maybe not even then. Like, again, that's that whole bias. I don't think it's safe to say. I don't know that anybody necessarily has it easy. It's.
I'm sure the Kardashians have it pretty easy,
but they still have. I mean, there's still going to be something that happens. Like, for instance, and we'll kind of get to this. This is what you were suggesting at the top of the episode. I thought you were going to talk about. Like, we just found out a couple of hours ago, one of the most prominent athletes of our entire lifetime, Kobe Bryant, was killed. Like just earlier today,
like 2 hours ago at this point or something,
in a helicopter crash. And so first, our hearts go out to his family and his friends and, everybody he was a hero to a lot of people, and it's a tragedy. But again, that guy had it pretty well off. But now, you talk about a shockwave going through the sports community. Like a lot of people, regardless of what they had or the opportunities they had, they're going to be super sad. So there's some things that we all have to deal with regardless. Like we all have to deal with like grief and loss, and there's just a lot of stuff like that. So I think it's just as bad to say, that any particular group just doesn't know what it's like to have a hard time, because everybody
Yeah.
has a hard time with something.
Everyone does, yeah.
And again, that's kind of removing the bias, so you can kind of see, and like, rather than go, "Oh, you're black, you probably have always had a hard time getting a job," or you know what I mean, or like, "I'm white, so I don't know what it's like to, I don't know, not get picked first for the promotion or whatever." Like, I think you'd be better off just going, "So, what's your experience like?" This gives a lot of great opportunities to make friends.
Yep.
So, what have you been through? Oh, fucking A, dude. You know.
Ooh, another tough subject: voting. I know that one very well.
Oof, Jesus.
I'm sure you got the
Oh, you said
gamut
you want
of
to take
opinions.
politics out. My bad.
Well, no. That voting
not
is not
politics.
necessarily. Well, look, dude, voting is not necessarily politics. And I heard about something on the way here that the DNC is now trying to get people to vote in the two major primary elections, Iowa and I think New Hampshire or whatever, on an app. They've decided there's a phone app.
Don't do that.
And the phone app is run by the DNC.
Do not do that.
Do you remember the 2016 election where the DNC rigged it and they totally screwed themselves?
And they were found out?
They were found out. WikiLeaks, like, oh, yeah. And now they have an app. And cybersecurity people have reviewed it and said, this is the most hackable thing we have ever seen. It is not secure. It is totally, like, corruptible. And we just can't believe that they're trying to get people to actually vote through this DNC-sponsored.
You know people are gonna.
Oh, my God. It's
old white folks love voting on apps.
Dude, it is. You talk about them.
I'm writing in Tulsi. I haven't seen anyone better yet.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And maybe Andrew. I'm still on the fence about both of them, but
I would.
You know what I'm going to do? Nothing.
Dude,
you had your taste. You're done.
I'm going to sit at home, rub one out, and I'll have a lot more to show for it at the end of the day.
I love when Carlin said that.
I know, Carl.
But honestly, dude, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for people that are hoping. Like, it's looking like we're going to have 4 more years of the same thing. But maybe Bernie's getting a lot of traction. But the DNC always finds a way to throw Bernie under the bus. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I don't fucking want Bernie. I don't begrudge anyone that likes him.
I don't
understand why
particularly-
they like
He
him.
won't
I
get
don't
anything
want
done
him.
either.
I don't particularly like him either, but he might pull a strong running mate like Tulsi or Andrew Yang. And that would maybe sway my vote towards that side.
Well, with him being
I support
more
them,
focused on us, we might actually just get some less shit going on.
Mitch McConnell won't let Bernie get anything done for the first 2 years.
It'll be well, and unless they decide to like
That's why those happen
compromise.
in the middle, though. Yeah.
So all of Bernie's crazy. Let's bankrupt everybody and give everybody free stuff. That probably isn't going to get through.
Sure.
We might be insulated from that if he wins. So maybe there's not as big of a danger. And he is kind of a humanitarian.
There is an insane concept called bipartisanship that used to happen a lot, where
Yeah.
you just meet in the middle and
Bipartisanship?
yeah,
Bipartisanship.
bias partisanship.
What is this bipartisanship? Is it where 2 people will reach across the aisles and shake hands and agree on certain things?
Yeah.
It's insane.
I
And
know.
it's what's even
It's one of
more
the
insane
Arthurian
is people
legends.
are like, you don't vote because you're not smart. Yep. That's the problem.
Hey, you heard it this day.
I don't know anything about
Spencer
this
McCoy
whole
thinks you're smart.
I don't know anything about this government. Jesus.
Tough subject.
Well, for one, it's government, but okay.
Tough subject.
Government.
Do you have any tough subjects? I think your tough subjects like Godzilla or Mothra.
Yeah.
Which one's more righteous?
Yeah. I don't have any that are worth talking about.
No,
they're
come
either,
on.
They're either too much or not enough.
No, give us one too much.
Like what's something you
Medicine, Medicare.
Oh fuck yeah, that's a great one.
Big
That's
farm.
near and dear to my heart, obviously.
Yep.
And I disagree with most of the people that want it to be free. With every fiber of my being.
You don't want medicine to be free?
I do. That'd be a nice advantage, but I don't like what that would do to the market or the economy or the country. But I do think that there's, again, just the short
Well,
version.
again, nothing's free. So that
Right.
what he's saying is, if all of a sudden they went, hey, you get all your medicine for free, and then you go, hey, that's awesome. That doesn't mean you don't have to pay.
No
for
more
it.
tax returns.
Yeah, that means they're gonna take it out of the back end of your paycheck.
So you're paying for it either way.
Yeah,
But
your
my thing is-
$100 a week paycheck's going to go down to $40 a week.
'Cause
But
everyone's
they're going to
wanting-
say you get free medicine, and guess what? It's going to equal out to you having less, and somebody's going to pocket the difference. Mark my fucking words.
Everyone's wanting the free medicine because they say it's a
they
right
say it's
to
free.
live, and I'm like, hey, I mean, I feel like it's a right to live as well. But to be fair, we're in a capitalist society, so instead of trying to destroy the foundation and build it up from the rubbles that you won't survive, you fucking idiot. How about you work inside the system and go, let's vote in people that will pass laws that will put a $20 per prescription refill cap on insulin or any of the
Yes.
stuff that will kill you. Because then you could work 1 day a week at a minimum wage job, do fuck all else, and you'll be able to afford the gas to get to the pharmacy and your medicine. People still pocket money. They still get to pay their bills. They still get to pay for the new equipment they need to run their businesses. You get to go home and not die. I mean, it's just basic stuff like that. I don't think
Sure.
free merchandise, or that's the wrong term, but just physical things that you can get or whatever is the answer to anything.
Well, I mean,
but
I
I think
think-
a smarter price point is.
Well, and I think you said big pharma. That's the thing. If somebody that's charging $200 for a $10 bottle of pills, that's the fucking problem. And you need somebody that
Pharma Bro, whatever that dude's name was, that like
Yeah.
increased, what was it?
Oh,
Increased
what a dick.
AIDS medicine or HIV medicine by
Yeah.
like 3,000%.
Yeah.
What a piece of shit. And that's the
Didn't he
thing.
get in trouble for that?
He did.
Wasn't
He's
that,
in jail right now, I believe.
yeah, that was enough that they actually.
But you're going to have companies that come by and make a generic too. So even in there's going to be competition in. But man, again, like
But they can't do that with insulin. They're trying. There are places that are trying to do that. Like there's a really fascinating five
Yeah.
or 10 minute video online about a company that's trying that desperately, because if they get a generic, then I could do that. Granted, where Libby and I are at is a good place, so we get it for that anyways. But if I weren't, I could get it for that. But
yeah.
because it's a protein, it's got really, really specific, like actual cellular living conditions that it needs to work.
Yeah.
And that makes it a lot more complex than putting pills in a bottle.
Shit, I get it. Wow.
And the copyright loopholes are what the big pharma used to.
And even if they did find a way to make all the medicine like free to come from like the government or something like that, and they, for just paying a little more taxes, and even if it took more away, I would still be terrified if, because if the government holds all the cards, they can take them away too. I just find that if you find a way to like be successful and have more money than you need, then it's not going to matter how much. You see what I'm saying? Like you can. Trying to survive, to me, it just always seems like, I'm not trying to be like philosophical, but just trying to survive in the lobster tank never made sense, because you always lose.
And that is fair, but there's also
But climbing out of the tank,
yeah.
you always can win if you just like find a way to beat the system, and like that's why I'm always been in favor of like freedom and capitalism and stuff, like it and not counting on the government to try to give you stuff. And I mean,
But that's why I like capitalism, because it's a direct reward. Like I don't think it's obviously abused and horrible the way it is, but it can work. Like I enjoy working for money, and then when I get the money, whatever extra I have, or if it weren't extra, if it were for the insulin or something, I enjoy going, you're getting something out of this, which is my way of saying thank you and continuing your livelihood for helping me live. Or if it's Gundam or Godzilla kits or something, same thing. I go, I like this. You need this for it to work, so here's money. I go home happy. You get to build a cushion so that you can get more stuff.
Yeah, and I realize it's
symbiotic.
It's easier said than done to just go, well, look, if you're having trouble affording things, go make $60,000 a year. It's not always that easy, like, well, the problem is you just need to double your income, and then you'll be able to afford things like that. Sometimes that takes a lot of work, but it is possible.
Dave Ramsey's a smart guy.
I'm here to tell you.
Too.
I'm here to tell you, it's possible to get more. Like a lot of people feel like they're trapped, and I just don't believe it. I don't think you have to be trapped. Based on what I've seen out in the world, in the workforce, most people really are trying to do the least amount they can. Most people are lazy.
Yeah,
they're not trying. Like Butch Walker said very famously in a song, to want and to try is the difference why some people will walk and some run. And
I dig that.
That's fucking huge. And of course, the way he says it in the song is it's crushing. But like that's true, man. Like I see a lot of people that are just trying to like get off work to go home and get on the couch, and that's okay because I get tired too. I work long hours, but like
but you also come into the band room after work like exhausted and
just
take 5 minutes to recollect, and then you're good to go.
I just think it's, I don't know, man. I find that if people who want it easy are the ones that are always complaining about not having enough.
Yeah, that's reaching for low hanging fruit. I had to talk to my niece, and we'll spare details because financials and stuff. But
of course,
she was talking about someone she knew that was in a weird living situation that they weren't happy with, but they were apparently stuck there because they couldn't afford to live on their own. And I was like, totally fair. I don't know what other bills they have, because all I'm hearing you talk about is paychecks and rent. So if there's something else, then that's fair. But I'm going to tell you right now that I make, or made when I started at my old job, half the amount of money that they do hourly. and was able on that to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. So they either have something else that you don't know about that's crippling them, which is possible, or they're an irresponsible spending dickwad, and they need to, tighten your wallet, be a little more conservative with how you spend your money.
That's
and it builds pretty quick. If you go a month without buying bullshit, all of a sudden you have a lot more money than you thought you did.
It's a fact. And you have to kind of scale your lifestyle to your income. Even real successful guys, like Steve I was talking about that. He goes, before I was successful, he goes, I was very poor for a long time. He goes, but the thing is, I always managed to, however much money I was making, I always made sure that I only needed about like 70% of that to live on.
That's what I try to do.
Always. And so I always made sure that I was making 70% more than I needed. So my debt to income ratio was always, and so he goes, and that may mean that some months I ate very cheap food, you know what I mean? Like, and other months it was better, but I never ever like allowed my lifestyle to exceed my income, and he goes, and I've always been pretty comfortable that way, even when the income was very low. And so I think you kind of, again, tough subject. It's hard to say like how people are supposed to live. And there's another thing too, and I see this in some people that have just been doing the same thing for years and years. You get tired, and sometimes you just want some comfort. So that's a real thing there where you just maybe want to go. I'm not saying that you have to get off work and then go start a business and then stay up all night mixing a song and then go back to work and not sleep.
Yeah, you just want to be able to chill.
Yeah, man. Like, there's definitely at least 1 or 2 days a week that I don't I work, but then I'll just go home and like kind of chill with my cats, maybe make dinner and just kind of, you don't always have to be grinding out, like that. I would never say that to somebody. And it's a personal decision. You know what I mean? Like, it's possible to work yourself into the grave too, but I just think that people should understand if you want more, you can have more, but you got to go get it,
And the first thing to do is subscribe to Beacon House if you want more.
That's right. That's right. The number one rule for success is being friends with Beacon House.
Very nice. Very nice.
It's a fucking good segue right there.
Yeah.
I like it.
Subscribe just enough so that we can get donations through YouTube and send that.
You guys got anything else before we start to wrap up a little bit here?
I do have one more tough subject.
Hit us.
Before you hit that button.
Gimme.
Top sheet or no top sheet? It's a tough subject.
I'd say crunchy.
Top sheet.
Crunchy. Yeah, peanut butter crunchy, smooth.
Oh, you meant real sheets. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crunchy ones.
How do you keep your toilet paper? Is turkey and ham, which one's a Thanksgiving?
On the floor so I can pick it up and decide in the moment.
I keep my toilet paper liquid. The bidet, the Amazon bidet, $30-something bucks.
Did you get one?
Oh, fuck yeah, it's incredible. Did I talk about this?
You push a button
you got
and
a
squirt in your
bidet?
butt?
It's fucking amazing.
What is it?
You can order it on Amazon. It's like $30, I think.
How well does it work?
Phenomenal.
Really?
What is it?
Phenomenal. It's
You don't know what a
it's
bidet
the poo-poo
is?
splashy wash.
Okay.
You hook it right into your toilet. It's super easy to install. It's fucking amazing.
Do you have to plug it in though? Don't you?
You have to just connect a little hose.
Oh,
No,
so
you have
don't
to plug it into
There's
you.
no electronic.
No electronics. It's fucking amazing. I got one like a year ago. Have we not talked about this?
No.
You won't let us come to
I
your
have the
house.
cleanest
We could have
butthole.
used it.
I have the cleanest butthole.
I thought even when you use a bidet, you're still supposed to wipe.
You maybe wipe maybe once, and that's mostly just to dry off.
I want to get the electronic ones that you have to plug in the wall and like have seat warmers and stuff. Like I
Fuck
want to get
that.
I want to get the super luxurious.
I mean, if you want to
bidet.
blow like $5,000 on the toilet, do it.
I
but-
wanna-
Although I do get hemorrhoids, and I'm afraid that the water's going to pop my hemorrhoid if I
Ooh.
like, put the pressure.
No,
up
it's
too
good.
hot.
It's actually good for. I can't believe we're going to have to cut this out because
No.
I'm not gonna I don't want to talk about hemorrhoids on the pod.
Hey,
okay, fuck it.
some people-
fuck it. Well, you got
Don't be such a bitch.
Okay, fucking my dad's got asteroids like in family vacation or whatever.
Dude, I got one from lifting weights this week, and it was awful.
You got to be careful if you don't lift right.
Yeah.
It's your bundle of grapes. It's your equipment down there.
Yeah.
You're gonna fuck up your cutter.
Yeah, dude, don't fuck up your cutter.
Hey,
man.
that's your fucking equipment, man. It's got to last you a lifetime.
Gotta keep that cutter clean.
It's gonna fuck up your cutter.
But it was uncomfortable. Like preparation H helped, but like laying in bed even hurt. Like laying in bed hurt. And I
Oh, if
was
you
like,
could, yeah.
I honestly thought, I think it's gone now for the most part because I can sit down normal.
You thought your colon was gonna leave
I thought I had like
greener
a fissure.
pastures?
I thought I had like a cut down there.
I've had that before.
And those I heard are fucking brutal.
They're not that brutal. They just take a long time to heal because there's poop
You just have to
going
get
on.
used to it. Like,
I remember a long time ago.
This is 3 episodes in a row we've talked about shit. At
bro,
this point.
a friend of mine a long time ago got some hemorrhoids, and he goes, "Man, I don't know what to get. What kind of medicine should I get?" And I was like, "Fuck, I don't know." Isn't there one called like anus ease? I was like, "Get the one that has anus in the title, anusol or something like that."
Preparation H.
He goes, "I'm gonna go to Walgreens and get some anus ease."
Sounds like a fucking rapper's name.
dude. Oh, but the bidets are good for that situation. They're good for the tissue. Like it's better than like Just trust me. $30.
I've been getting Charmin, like the green Charmin toilet paper with the aloe in it.
Bro,
It's, like,
I barely buy toilet paper anymore.
See, I want to
Yes.
go. I want to go to your next doctor visit and see what he says about
Why
your
the
asshole.
fuck would you want to go to his doctor's
Bro,
visits?
well,
Because he just
I'll say
said
this. I used to have some of those too.
Some of what?
The hemorrhoids.
there we go.
I used to have hammerheads occasionally.
You had some Pop Rocks in your butthole?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
I had fucking fire marbles, but fucking dude. But since I got this, I have not had one.
Really?
Seriously, but a lot of it has to do with like you can't sit on the toilet for a long. I'm terrible about sitting on the toilet
Me too.
reading.
Yep.
I used to, dude. Stephen King probably. Stephen King is responsible for a lot of damage to my butthole.
Can
Quote
we
me,
tag Stephen King in this episode?
please don't.
Yeah.
But
I'll do it. I work with social media.
a big part of it is if you lift a lot of weights, you got to be real careful, and also you can't sit on the toilet for a long time. You kind of got to like go and go.
Yeah.
But the fucking thing is awesome. I reckon there's like a $30-some-odd bidet you can get on Amazon.
Is there like a button that you have?
It looks like the Millennium Falcon. It's got like a little arm that comes off, and it's got a little switch, and you just turn it, and you can control the pressure. Sometimes if you turn it way up, you might get a little sharp. You go, whoa, got to turn it down a little bit. And then you can kind of move around to kind
You
of
like ease into it.
I fully endorse it 100%. I won't poop other places now. I wait till I get home because I want the clean
I
water.
want to get this.
Are
This
you
sounds
responsible
fantastic.
for the farts that you've been blaming me for? Is that
What?
what's going on?
No. I washed all my farts away with this awesome bidet.
I don't believe you,
Dude,
If you hold your
when
shit
I
until you
had
get home,
Fire marble.
When I got my first hemorrhoid and had to go to the doctor for it.
You had to go to the doctor for one?
Yeah.
Damn.
Because it just wouldn't go away.
Bad one, yeah.
And this is the first time I ever had like the doctor do the whole
Finger in the butt?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And like
How was it?
latex glove.
It's terrible.
There's a lot of pressure.
It's terrible.
Oh,
It's
especially
terrible.
like it's for me it's an exit only. Don't
Yeah.
put shit up there.
Oh, dude, I had to have it
And-
one time, and I was so like,
And he was doing it all nonchalant. He was just like,
Yep.
went up, and it was just like, I was like, all right. And he's like, you actually got a couple in here. And I was like, in there? What do you mean? He was like, yeah, you should be careful. You got a couple of like things that
somebody
pop,
left
like,
somebody left a whole train set in here.
Well, no, it was like apparently hemorrhoids can sit on the inside, and they don't always pop out.
oh, they're
and so he was
antisocial.
like, and he was just like, he was like, yeah, you have a couple more in there. So if you strain too hard, these might come out. So you got to be careful. And I was like, oh, okay,
God,
No thanks, boss.
yeah.
I remember one time I had
Fire
to have
marble.
I think I had a fissure or something because I've seen some blood, and I went to the doctor and he did the whole thing, and I remember he put his finger in my butt, and I was like, I don't know if I like whimpered or like if I was just real tense, but he goes, hey, are you okay? You ever have a doctor do that? You okay?
You all right?
You don't want to hear that from a doctor. I was like, yes, sir, I'm fine. I'm just making the best of it.
Whatever happened? What would happen if you go into the doctor and they do that and they find you just happen to find your magic button? Like he gets in there.
Oh,
to
he hits
check
like your prostate
Yeah,
or
he's just
something.
like boink, and you're just like oh. Like you all of a sudden you're just like collapsing on the ground. He's like, yeah, I've had that happen at least twice this week.
I guess you'd have to ask for his phone number.
Hey, can you take me to Cheddar's after this? Like I need a half plate. God damn.
Oh fuck! Man. Well, and on that note, everybody enjoy your next rectal exam.
I'm dreading having to go do my like 40-year-old physical where they just like
It's not that bad.
they get all up in there and just kind of like mushing around like a beanbag.
Nah, dude, it's okay. I had to have one before. I had to get a total physical and like blood work and all this shit before I had surgery on my leg, and it's not bad.
I'm also super terrified of them shoving needles in my arm. Like when they
That-
do
that
like
part
the,
is bad.
the
That's
fold of
never
your
nice.
arm when they do to draw blood, it freaks me the fuck
Just
out.
make sure you're sitting down. I've had so many fucking needles in me, but it's not even. Well, I'm sure you too.
probably more than you.
That's why they sit you in that little thing, and they'll make you put your arm out. So just look away. You'll feel a little pinch, and just let them
Well,
do
I
their
had,
thing.
the last time I had that done is this nurse. She was like, she came in. And I was like, "How good are you with needles?" I was like, because I've heard horror stories of nurses just not being able to find a vein and they just like dig around, and that fucking disgusts me.
Well, it'll cause a big bruise if they move it. If they
and she was like, she goes, "Oh, I used to do my mom's chemo needles," and I was
Yeah.
like, "Fuck!" And she was like, "I wasn't trying to make you feel bad. I just want you to know that I'm a fucking expert. So lay back. This will be done quick."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm gonna ask for you every time I need to come draw blood."
Last time I had blood drawn, they dug around because they couldn't find the vein. If you can believe that.
Dude, I would
Yeah.
pass. I would pass
as
the
long
fuck
as a
out.
needle goes like straight in and straight out, you generally don't have any scarring or anything. But if you put it in and then they move it around like that, You just get a huge fucking
Yeah,
bruise.
but one, I have really strong veins, and two, I'm so pale. I'm like a circulatory diagram. Like, I'm still not sure.
Circulatory diagram.
Look at my fucking arm. Like, how do you miss?
I don't know.
Yeah, it is like rice paper.
Yeah. I agree. She missed, and I was like, what
When
the
did you get
fuck?
a tattoo?
I've had that for like 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you just now see that?
Yeah. I didn't know you had a
If it
tattoo.
makes you feel any better, I forget sometimes. I'll be in the shower and I'll go, holy shit.
I remember you always used to love drawing on yourself, so it makes sense that you get a tattoo.
Yep.
But,
Well, hot dog.
tough subjects.
Tough
Anyways.
subject.
Fire
anyway,
marble.
Fire marble. So, guys, anyway, it's been nice talking to you. If you guys have any tough subjects, email us. Drop us a little line. Let us know.
Scorching turds.
If you guys have an exam that makes you tense up a little bit, let us know.
Yeah.
Asteroids.
Are you making a ballad over there?
No.
dinosaurs.
Can you
Did you say asteroid?
press the button? Press the button.
Brace
It's time
for
to done.
impacts, the
We're done.
fire's
We're done here.
falling. That T-Rex for help is calling. But you're shit out of luck. Oh boy, aren't you fucked? Cause these hemorrhoids are going.
This is a song I'm going to dance with your mom to at our wedding.
Oh my.